Welcome from the IIBA Tampa Bay, Florida chapter study group. We are in February 23 of 2023. This is class number 67 of our study group. We are working on the BABOK chapter 7, requirements and analysis and design definition. Our mission here at the IIBA Tampa Bay is to bridge the gap between industry leaders and business analysts by building partnerships with professionals, educators, and employers so that we may empower, instruct, and engage the BA community. As you know, we have a worldwide audience for our study groups as well as members of our chapter. We welcome everyone. You don't have to live in the northern Florida area for us to reach out and do what we can to help you. So you're welcome to join our study group. And if you want to be members of our chapter, that just helps us out a little bit. Tonight is Thursday. It is between 7 and 8 o'clock Eastern time for our study group. We meet every Thursday at this time. Our past meeting recordings are right here. Cliff has posted this in the chat already. So if you'd like to go back and look at any of our past meeting recordings, you're welcome to. We've gone over the entire BABOK using prepared practice study questions. We've also gone through all of the techniques. We've also gone through how to prepare for the test, how to apply for the test, what you need to know about the test, and a series of professional study groups that we had people come in that you'll work with as a BA, project managers, scrum masters, knowledge management folks, people that you need to know what they need from you, you need to know what they can give you, and what their role in the organization may be. We have a variety of ways for you to be able to reach out to us. The listing is here. I'm sure Cliff has already put that in the chat as well. Let's move on. As I said, this is our 67th study group, and we've gone through these test questions just about 2 classes for every chapter because, you know, it takes a little while to kind of work through it. So if you want to go through previous study groups, you are quite welcome to. Watermark Learning is one of our sponsors here. Watermark has provided these study questions for us free of charge as a chapter, but you can get these study questions on your own. If you want to, they do have a discount code they've given to us. It's Tampa space 21. It will give you 20% off of their prices. They not only have business analysis items, classes, flashcards, things like that, but they also have a couple of other topics, professions that they are providing education for if you're interested. We are a volunteer-led organization. You'll see Cliff here on the right in the Millennium Falcon. He is our president. He's also our marketing person extraordinaire, keeping us all updated as to what is available. Lori's our vice president of finance. Caitlin and Priscilla are board members at large. My name is Thea Soren. I'm the Vice President of Career and Professional Development for the chapter. And if you would like to reach me, you are welcome to reach me on my LinkedIn. It is my job to not only provide you education as what you need, but to help do reviews of resumes, help introduce you to people through LinkedIn. I've got a pretty healthy network, and I was pretty proud of my LinkedIn network until I saw Cliff's, and his dwarfs mine. I feel like a dwarf amongst giants here. But what the point is if you're interested in being introduced to someone at a particular company, we might have connections with you. Or if you're moving to a new area, if you're looking for a specific job, things like that, we've got pretty good connections with recruiters. It's our job to help you make your life better, but you have to reach out to us and tell us what you need and let us ask you the questions so that we can get you to the right people. We need new board members. The board members that we have been here for several years. And if you have, say, 2 hours that you can give to us to help our community, reach out and let us know, and we will give you a task that either fits your current strengths, that things that you want to do, or gives you an opportunity to use strengths that you have not yet developed quite so much so that you can have that under your belt. You can also put it on your resume that you were a board member at large for the IIBA Tampa Bay, Florida chapter. This is a study group, which means that you get education credit for participating. the only way the IIBA will allow us to give you education credit is that we have people here who have passed their CBAP. You'll see here in his Redskins jersey, and I'm not so thrilled about this, is Bob Churchill. Bob is our CBAP that is in residence. Yes, he does have his number 43 on. I'm sure he can tell you who that belongs to too. Bob also has a variety of other letters after his name that of things that he has earned. He's also has a fantastic website that has information not only interesting to business analysts, but of other things that are adjacent to business analysis that are interesting and useful for us in our profession. If you have questions or comments about his website or just questions, you can contact him at bob@rpchurchill.com. Is Yulia here? I don't know if she's able to participate. Yulia is recently in September earned her CBAP certification, but she's also working on her master's degree. And occasionally they have classes that they have to attend. So she's hit and miss in the last 2 times if she could participate. People that have attended our study group that have gone on to get their certification, beginning certification or advanced certification, we're really proud of their efforts and their accomplishments. And we want to shout out that we helped them a little bit, maybe. They said we helped them a lot, but that's what we're here for. But it's kind of exciting whenever it really works, right? Okay, let's switch over to the study group to ask questions. Let me move this. My goodness, everything is in the way. We are going to
interrupt you for one moment.
Oh, that's right, Cliff. You need to talk to us. Cliff, give us your advertisement.
We have a couple events that'll be coming up. We're going to have our first in-person meeting since COVID started for a park cleanup. It's out in our channels, but it's going to be for March 8th, or I'm sorry, March 18th. If you're not in our channels, make sure you get in our channels and you'll see all these. I'm also working with some local recruiters, and we're going to probably do a local event like we did a couple of years ago with recruiters, reviews of resumes, LinkedIn profiles, all that kind of good stuff. Because it's become aware that, employment might be an issue coming up here soon for some people, but we'll be able to address those kinds of things and have some events for you. That's it.
Fantastic. How can they get more information?
If you get into our, like I said, our meetup channels, we've got a Facebook group channel, we got LinkedIn group channels. When I post everywhere. So that's why those channels exist. So they'll give you notifications of everything that comes up.
Okay. Thank you very much. Okay, we requirements analysis and design definition, chapter 7 in the BABOK. Let's begin a new exam. Now, here's the format. It's my job to read the question to you, read the answers to you, just in case you have any difficulty reading, but that gets us all to the end at the same time. It's your job to tell me, number one, are any of the answers absolutely not possible? Either they don't exist in the BABOK, they don't even make sense, something's wrong with them, and then number two, which answer you think is correct. I'm going to ask you why you think something is correct or why you think it shouldn't be allowed. This allows us to have a conversation so that we understand your reasoning. We're not just zooming through, getting the answer and going on. And that conversation is where we all learn. So please consider participating. You don't have to come on camera if you don't want to. Your voice is enough. If you want to come on camera, you communicate 60% more if we can see you as you talk. So let's start with question number 1. The lead business analyst has assigned you to create a requirements model that represents the characteristics and the exchange of information within the enterprise or a solution. Which requirements model category would you use? So it's a requirements model for exchange of information and communication. Did I say that right? Okay. That would be data modeling, data and information, activity flow, or a data flow diagram. Are any of those not real?
Data and information sounds like it's not real.
Okay. So what answer do we think is the correct answer?
Data flow diagrams.
Yeah, I'd
Okay.
go with that as well.
I've got two votes for data flow diagram. Let's check our answer.
Ah,
Oh,
Okay, so data and information is a model category described in this question.
okay.
This is a technique, that's true. But we're looking for a model category. So it's which requirements model category would you use? Remember, BABOK is very specific as to, are we talking about a technique? Are we talking about input? Or, it's what they call it is what they want to know. So the question really was about the model category. Next question.
Yeah, exchange is what threw me off.
I agree. That was weird. Okay, you're assigned to a project to help re-engineer bank settlement processing. Another team member showed you this diagram of what he had modeled. He said the scope of the project is concentrated around the items shown. However, you are not familiar with this type of diagram. And this is pretty huge, I'm sorry. So we have account number, date opened. So here's characteristics. Here's a cardinality. So it shows you a 1-to-1, 1-to-1, 1-to-many. Okay, there's two questions about this. For the above scenario, a different team member questions the post-transaction and report transaction attributes in the transaction box. So let's look at those. Post-transaction and report transaction are right here. What is the correct response? The other team member is incorrect because names below the line on the class diagram represent foreign keys. The other teammate is correct that the two items are probably misnamed attributes. The other teammate is incorrect because names below the line in the class diagram represent operations. Or the other teammate is correct and the two items are actually other classes related to the given class. So as we left the last meeting, I said, go check out the techniques. If they're mentioned, there are going to be questions about it. Here is where we are right. So which one of these are the correct answer? Or we're going to guess and find out, okay?
I think it's between B and D.
The problem I
think
have
it's-
is this box has that line in it, but there's no
Yeah.
definition of what that line means.
Right.
You know what I mean? I've
Yeah,
looked
is that
at
like
stuff
an
like this
associative
all
entity or
day
something?
long. Yeah, and that line means nothing to me. I don't know why it's there.
Well,
Kinda
it's
strange.
probably kind of an object-oriented thing where the upper parts are characteristics or values, and the lower part is operations.
yeah, that's
or
what I was thinking too.
functions.
That makes
And
Yeah,
I
it's-
forget the correct terms for that.
So that would be
but
C.
there
I was
are
thinking
terms.
C would be the answer, but because of it represents operations. Anybody have a difference on that?
Represents operations.
Yeah, the things below the line representing an operation. So posting a transaction or reporting a transaction. And the thing above the line defines the actual parts of the transaction, the data points.
So I'll go with C as well.
I'll join
Okay.
you.
Me too.
I've got 2 votes for C. Let's check the answer. And drum roll as I scroll back down. It is correct. Class diagrams use that convention. And you would know this if you had read BABOK figure 10, chapter 10, 15-2. Okay, question number
A
2.
lot of these diagram types, it's a good idea to read Wikipedia or study other sources. The BABOK does not always go into very deep descriptions of some of the drawing and diagram types in the data analysis cert. I can't remember the acronym right now. I haven't, or it lapsed, but they talk about 20 different graphs and give an explanation of almost none of them. So
Mhm.
it's up to you as a student and a would-be test taker to know about all these diagrams and study them on your own.
I want to tell y'all, whenever we were writing the BABOK and I was helping write the techniques chapter, they kept telling us, you've got to be prescriptive, you cannot be descriptive. In other words, I couldn't explain what it was I was talking about with pictures or examples. I just had to give this high level explanation, which made me feel like my hands were tied. We're hoping to fix that whenever we rewrite the BABOK. So wish us luck there. Okay, next question. You were assigned a project to help re-engineer the bank's processing. This is the same thing. Let's go down to the question. The business expert wants to make sure the statements can be produced at least monthly or quarterly. What can you tell her? So we should be able to figure this out. Statements can be produced monthly or quarterly. So we're looking for statements. Period ending date. What's our answer? Let's look at the answers. There's nothing in the model to limit how often the statements are produced. The business rule would state the timing of statement production. You need to see other documentation to be sure, or another type of model would be the one to dictate how often statements are produced.
I'm going to go with C.
Why do you like C, Jim?
Well, in A, it says there's nothing in the model to limit how often the statements are produced, but up there it says period ending date. And where I'm thinking is there's some business rule or some other document that says, defines period ending date and how that's set.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's kind of between B and C. I guess you could say a business rule would state the timing of a statement production, but that's not in here. It's not listed anywhere here. So I'm thinking C, you have to go to some other documentation to be sure.
Why would you not go to the business rules?
I think the business rule might be in that documentation. So I'm going with a more general answer.
That would be a more general answer. Okay, any other votes?
Yeah, I would go with C too. Yeah, B, there may not be a business rule, but it may be in some other document, right, as Jim mentioned. Yeah.
Very good. Okay, let's see what the answer is. Checking the answer. Scrolling back down and correct. The documentation needed is classified as metadata and would include what the entities represent, when and why they were created or changed, how they should be used, how often they should be used, when and what by whom, which is all in chapter 10, technique number 15. Very good, Jim. Good reasoning. Let's go to question 4. Which of the following best describes some of the characteristics of requirements and design quality? Atomic, concise, feasible, unambiguous, approved. Measurable, concise, feasible, unambiguous, prioritized. Atomic, concise, feasible, unambiguous, prioritized. Or atomic, concise, feasible, unambiguous, estimated. So this is some of them, which tells you that this is not the complete list of all of the characteristics that are in the BABOK.
I would go with C. Oh, go ahead, Runa.
No, that's fine, Jim. So C is the right answer because in A, approved is not the characteristic. In B, measurable is not. And in D, estimated is not.
All right. Well, let's check this answer. Very good. You guys rock it. Let's go forward. I know. That was awesome. Anna has assembled a team to define design options. What inputs will they need to accomplish this task? Validated and prioritized requirements, change strategy, enterprise architecture, validated and prioritized requirements, change strategy, requirements architecture, traced requirements, change strategy, and enterprise architecture, or traced requirements, change strategy, and requirements architecture. Any of these we can eliminate?
So I'll go with B. Enterprise architecture is not any input or guideline I have seen so far.
Mhm.
And D, so we can eliminate A and C right away. So traced requirements is actually a guideline used for this particular task. And B is the right answer.
Okay, so you like B as in boy, correct?
That's right.
Okay, any other votes? Okay, let's check this answer.
I think it's D.
And it was B. Very
Very-
good. Let's move on. Which of the following best describes what is needed in order to specify and model requirements? Any elicitation results, modeling tools, a business analyst, or requirements?
This is
A.
a little funny because you do need a business analyst to do everything, right? And
Yeah.
you need to have elicitation results to start working on specification and modeling of requirements. And
Mhm.
you do need modeling tools to model and specify, right? So D is obviously not the answer, but by going by BABOK, I think A should be the answer, but other B and C make sense.
They do make sense, but remember, business analysis can be done by anyone on the team.
Actually,
You don't have to
title
be a
doesn't
business
matter.
analyst. And
That's true,
modeling
yeah.
tools can be nothing more than a pencil and a napkin. But
Absolutely.
you do have to
yeah.
have something, some kind of results here, I think.
Yeah.
Let's
Yeah.
find out. And it's correct. But I agree, it is a little bit funny. Sandy has been hired as a lead business analyst in an ongoing project. The outgoing lead handed her a set of requirements for the initiative that were already documented and modeled. What task might Sandy do next? She should define the solution scope, verify the requirements, define design options, and accept requirements. Can we eliminate any of these?
If they were documented and modeled, does that necessarily mean they got verified? Because that's really, you have to make sure your requirements are good quality requirements. And that's why I'm thinking the next step is verify the requirements.
Well, in the real world, anytime that there's a change of people in a project, you need to kind of do a level set anyway. But what does the BABOK say? You think it's verify requirements?
Yeah, it should be very
It should be.
Let's find out. And we're right.
Woohoo!
They've already been documented, which is specified and modeled. That those are inputs to the verify, validate, and defining requirements architecture. So one of these should be your next task. Good job, guys. Okay. In what task are requirements allocated to a solution component or a release? Is it define design options, specify and model requirements, analyze potential value and recommend solution, or verify requirements?
I'll go with A, define design options, because at that time when we are allocating the requirements to various, as the question mentions, to various solution components and releases, and in specify and model requirements, we don't do, in other three, we don't do that.
Okay, I've got one vote. Can I have
I
a second?
agree.
Okay, let's check it. And we are correct. Man, I want you guys on my team whenever we play Jeopardy. Which of the following is not an element of analyze potential value and recommend solution task? Expected cost, determined value, expected benefits, or expected outcome? Are any of these not in the BABOK?
D is not in BABOK.
D is not in the BABOK. Yes, Bob. Oh, yes. He's answering with it. He's in a convention center right now, guys. Okay. So we have A, B, or C. What is the correct answer in your opinion, according to the BABOK?
It's D. It's not
D.
an
I think
element.
D is
Yeah.
not.
Oh, you're right. I'm sorry. I didn't read the question properly. And you're right. It is not, and you're right. It is D. Let's go next. When creating the requirements model, business analysis determine the specific categories and specific models within categories to be used. Which of the following is not an example of a category? People and roles, capability, rationale, or cost. Now, category according to the BABOK.
Yeah. So cost is not an example of category. So like people and roles, we have organizational structure. For capability, we have business capability model. For rationale, we can have root cause analysis, or I think there was one more. So cost is the one,
Okay,
according to me. Yeah, according to me.
okay. Do I have a second vote?
Yes,
The same answer?
agreed. Yes, cost.
Okay, check answer, and you are correct. You guys are rocking it tonight. Not every process analyzed will be transformed by a software solution. So processes that are flagged in the design plan are not being a candidate for automation will not undergo further elaboration during the technical design. With that premise, which of the following statements is not true? The business analyst will have decomposed and modeled the process and identified new procedures. The business analyst should refrain from documenting recommendations to transform the processes that are outside the scope of software automation. The business analyst should present recommendations to the appropriate project stakeholders to determine if proposed improvement should be considered for implementation, or the business analyst and process owner may have determined new manual steps that may streamline and improve the current process.
I'm thinking that the more inclusive approach is warranted. In other words, they're saying here that they're not a candidate for automation, will not undergo further elaboration during the technical design. So if they're not a candidate for automation, I think what needs to happen is we either need to check with the stakeholders to find out what they want to do, or it could, and it could be that the process owner may have determined a new manual step that could streamline the process. In other words, it's not out of, we're not looking, business analysis doesn't look at just the solution. It looks at also what the organization will be doing. So I'm kind of leaning toward either C or D. Does anybody have further elaboration that might narrow it down between them, or have another choice?
Remember, it's which statement is not true.
Not true.
Oh.
Not true. Right.
Yeah, I was kind of approaching this a different way. I was looking at all of the things that I know that I would do and trying to
Okay.
find the one that I wouldn't do.
Okay.
So
And I would say
I think,
B.
so I think A, I would definitely do.
Right.
There's just a lot to digest here in these answers.
So I'm thinking
So I'd say B,
B.
because you
It's B.
should always do the
Yeah.
most thorough analysis possible. And even if your scope and solution is going to be largely software, that does not preclude changing anything else. So
Yeah.
everything should be up for grabs.
Yeah,
And
and
this
B,
example
B's-
is why you have to pay attention very closely to all the little logical bits of the questions and answer.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think all of the answers with A and C and D, the business analyst is sort of taking a neutral approach and letting the stakeholders make the decision, where B, they're kind of actively, refraining from doing something. So they're taking like a more active part in it and making the decision themselves. So I think B is the correct answer for this question as well.
Yeah,
Okay,
I agree.
let's check it. Very good. We should refrain. No, let's just do our job. You just created stakeholder and solution requirements. What task did you just finish? Was that specified model requirements? This is what is the outcome of which task? Specified model requirements, prioritize requirements, verify requirements, or structure requirements. Are there any of those that are not real tasks?
Structure requirements is not a real task.
Never heard of it. So of the three that are left, which one has this as the output?
I think specify and model requirements because they just named two
Yes.
sets of requirements, stakeholder requirements and solution requirements.
Okay,
Yes,
I heard more than one vote there. Let's check it.
Yeah.
Good job. What is the primary difference between requirements and designs? Is it requirements are documented in models, at which point they become a design? Requirements are the responsibility of the BA, designs are the responsibility of the data architects. I'm sorry, of the design architects. It depends on how they are being used and by whom, or requirements and designs are synonyms that can be used interchangeably. Are there any of those that are not true?
So B is definitely not true. B as in boy,
Mm-hmm.
and requirements are documented. I think C would be the right answer because requirements and designs.
And oftentimes be used interchangeably.
Yeah, it
As
depends
the-
on who's looking at them.
Exactly.
One person's requirements could be another person's design, vice
Design.
versa, depending
Yeah.
where you are on the food chain.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I hear what you're all saying, and in real world, I like it. Is that what the BABOK says?
I think it's C,
But is
because
D,
designs can be tested, right?
but is D
A-
true? Requirements and designs are synonyms?
No.
They are
No.
not. One
are
is
not. One
what
points to
you
a
need
solution.
do. One is a proposal for what you're going to do. And I don't think any of these answer that question very well.
Okay,
That said, maybe I'd say A, but I
A,
hate all
yeah.
these answers.
Go with A. Yeah, I think that's
Okay,
the right answer.
let's check
Yeah.
A and
Let's
keep
check
going.
it.
Oh,
Oh.
C.
Yeah,
BABOK
that
chapter 7.
it's poorly worded, but it's kind of vaguely the most correct, or it's the least incorrect.
Okay, next. The project team is in the process of confirming compliance with organizational business analysis performance standards, correct use of modeling notation, and completeness within each model. And that items determined in the importance. Sorry, hold on.
It's okay.
Sorry, my new husband brought me dinner and I had to eat something. Items determined to be important are included in the final requirements deliverables. What tool would help carrying out all of these activities? Would it be item tracking, control chart, metrics and key performance indicators or KPIs, or a checklist?
Checklist.
Checklists.
Because
that was
yeah,
my
it's
guess.
a list of items. Yeah, list of
Let's
items,
find
yeah.
out. And that is correct. The purpose of a checklist is the verify requirements task is to ensure that items determined to be important are included in the final requirements deliverables. Very good. We're making good time, guys. Susan is done with defining the solution approach, identifying opportunities to improve the business, allocating requirements across solution components, and representing design options that achieve the desired future state. Which of the following activities may be a likely next step? Is it ensure the requirements and design align to their business requirements and support the needed value? Estimate the potential value of each design option, ensure that the designs meet quality standards, or produce different viewpoints in the requirements for the various stakeholders?
So after design options are done, the next step should be to estimate the potential value of each design option. That is B as in boy. So in A, there are requirements and designs aligned to business requirements. That is validation, which is already done. And C, ensuring that designs meet quality standards. That is verification of requirements. That's also already done. And producing different viewpoints is requirements architecture. So B would be the option, but others can, chip in.
yeah.
That was what I
Absolutely
was,
correct.
Yeah, with the reasoning.
I
that's
agree.
I'm checking the answer and it is correct. Although there is not a specific next step listed, it's highly likely that once you define the design options, you would estimate the potential value for each design option and to establish which is the most appropriate to meet the enterprise's requirements. Very good logic, and it's correct.
Yeah.
A senior business analyst was providing advice to a new business analyst and recommended using a matrix for their requirements modeling format. What is the purpose of this kind of format? To create a visual representation of the set of requirements, to provide an easy way for the business analyst to model the requirements, to convey a set of requirements that have complex but uniform structure that can be broken down, or to clearly describe the requirements in an active voice.
C.
Yeah. C is the
Okay,
answer.
let's check it. And it is correct. Good job. Number 17, documenting a requirement that describes a customer's interaction with a proposed system to accomplish a goal is best associated with which of the following techniques? Is it a use case, a user story, a data flow diagram, or an activity diagram? So it's a customer's interaction to accomplish a goal.
Use case.
Use case.
Yeah. Because
Always
user
use-
stories, entire stories can have scenarios. Data flow diagram is again the entire journey of journey of data. And activity diagram doesn't show the interaction.
Okay, let's check it.
I think so.
And it is correct.
In this case.
What is the purpose of the specify and model requirements task? So we want to know what the outcome is. To analyze, synthesize, and refine elicitation requirements into requirements and designs, to ensure that all requirements and design align to the business requirements and support the delivery of needed value, to fit the individual models and specifications together, to ensure that all the requirements form a single whole, or to ensure that requirements and design specifications and models meet quality standards that are usable for the purpose they serve.
I think
I
this
would-
is A.
Yeah, I would agree, because the elicitation results need to be turned into something, i.e. requirements and designs.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Okay.
then B would be verify the requirements and designs.
B would
Okay.
be validation.
Mhm.
Okay,
And C would be requirement architecture, and D would be verification of requirements.
okay, so we
Yep.
want to check A, is that correct?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, and it is correct. Very nice. Okay, Padma and her team are ensuring all requirements work in harmony as a single whole that supports overall business objectives and produces meaningful outcomes for the stakeholder. What is the purpose of this exercise? To harmonize requirements, to define design options, to manage requirements relationships, or to define requirements architecture? Are any of those not real in the BABOK?
Harmonizing requirements, I don't think is real.
I don't think
I've heard of
it's
that
real.
before.
And I'm leaning toward defining requirements architecture, because architecture speaks to the holistic completeness of the entire set of requirements.
And
I
my
hear
vote
what you're
goes to
saying,
Jim.
but is that what the BABOK says?
Somebody else have an opinion?
I agree.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree, it's D.
D is in dog, is that what I hear?
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay, let's check it. Very good. Okay, what are the inputs for the verify requirements task? Is it requirements in transition, requirements signed off, requirements specified and modeled, or requirements validated?
C.
D, specified and modeled.
Yeah.
Okay, let's check it. Very good. Y'all know the order they come in. Good. Associations or interfaces between the actor and the use case captured in a use case diagram are shown through the lines, the ovals, the stick figures, or the arrows.
Lines.
Lines.
Okay, let's check it.
Ooh.
Indicates the actor has access to the functionality represented by the use case. Very nice. Which of the following is a well-written requirement? The call center operator shall be able to view details of the protected household within 2 seconds of issuing a query. After the order is physically shipped, it should be modified to shipped status. Users shall have to register, unregister, and if possible, deactivate the facility. Or Gene will have all the capability of online purchase through the web business analysis system.
I think it's A because it
A.
uses a noun verb structure.
It does, that's
Also,
true.
It talks, it's measurable as in within 2 seconds of a
Mhm.
trigger. So
Mhm.
it's basing a qualitative, a measurable qualitative result within 2 seconds of issuing a query.
I agree.
So
Is it unambiguous?
that's right. So C is definitely not the answer because it is not atomic.
Right.
They have clubbed too many things. And for D, they have not mentioned what capability. It's not specific what capability of online purchase.
It's too broad. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Let's
And
check A.
A.
Person.
Okay. This is a complete sentence that meets all the characteristics of a good requirement. Very nice. Sarah is a working BA on enhancements to the organization's human resource system. She would like to model an employee's life cycle from the time they are a recruit until they are no longer with the company, along the triggers that change their status. Which of the following diagrams would best suit her objective? Would it be a state diagram, a process diagram, use case diagram, or a sequence diagram?
I think it's a state diagram, but a process diagram is very detailed about exactly which steps happen, and it's good for that. A use case diagram shows all of the different possibilities and interactions with the system, which, and this is asking about a life cycle. And that's what's cueing me towards state diagram. And the reason I'm saying sequence diagram may not be the answer is because, again, it's more detailed. It's down in the minutia, whereas the state diagram is describing the moments in the life cycle of an employee, pre-hire, hire, and this sort of thing.
Makes sense.
I don't know, is anybody?
I think
Yeah,
it's
that
a
makes sense.
sequence diagram, but because I thought that a state diagram was supposed to be more complicated than a sequence diagram. But kind of
No, not, it isn't simpler.
I think it's a sequence diagram because sequence diagram usually has a chronological order till from the time they joined and they left. So
Okay.
it could be sequence
Well,
diagram.
I hear 2
But
votes for
I
sequence
would go
diagram.
with A because things can be in a different order, at least in the middle of the employee status. So
Okay.
they don't have to necessarily be directly in a fixed sequence.
Okay, I heard
That
2 votes
said,
for
I
state
could be wrong.
and 2 votes for sequence. Let's
I'm
try
gonna go
this.
with state diagram as well.
Yep.
We are good. A state diagram shows the life cycle of an entity. If y'all have never played with state diagrams, they're very interesting. It's like snapshots, and you identify what changes the situation from the last snapshot to this snapshot. Okay, we are on question number 24 of 25. We'll have some time for questions at the end. This following statements describe how business analysts use requirements architecture. Which one is not a correct description? Business analysts use requirements architecture to make trade-offs and decisions about requirements while considering the overall objective. Business analysts use requirements architecture to ensure every requirement links back to an objective and shows how objective was met. Business analysts use requirements architecture to ensure the requirements work together to achieve the overall objective. Or business analysts use requirements architecture to understand which models are appropriate for the domain, solution scope, and audience.
It's D.
D.
Yeah.
Why do y'all like
Yeah.
D?
Why?
And the reason I chose D is because, I mean, the whole purpose, the main purpose of requirements architecture, again, is back to what I think of as being holistic. Are all of the requirements holistic? So A, business analysis, use it to make trade-off decisions about requirements while considering the overall objectives. To me, that's looking at all of the requirements together. And then B is ensure every requirement links back to an object and shows how an objective was met. So again, that's a very holistic consideration across requirements. And then business analysts on C use architecture to ensure the requirements work together to achieve the overall objectives. To me, that's the core meaning of the reason to use the business architecture, business requirements architecture. Yeah.
Okay.
So
So I've got a very well-reasoned idea for why D is correct. Do I have a second vote?
Yes.
No,
Yes.
D is correct because D is also kind of specify and modeling requirements. That's the
Yeah.
task.
And it is correct. Whenever I read D, it is B
Oh.
that is correct.
oh,
Oh,
This
So
answer
B
describes the
is
purpose of
one
traceability.
aspect of traceability, right?
oh,
And
Oh.
it's the kind of 5 phase
Yeah.
traceability. And traceability actually has 2 aspects. One is by phase through the process, right? And the other is kind of internal logic. So both have to be traced.
And here is where I made the mistake. I forgot we were looking for the not for the answer. I think this is the right answer. And this is the one that's not the right answer. Okay, let's move on to 25. Geeson is analyzing and refining the elicitation results into requirements. He wants to use a technique that will help his stakeholders or customers describe the goal they want to accomplish when using the solution. What technique would Geeson use? I don't know if that's the right way to pronounce it. You find me somebody who's spelled it that way. Gleason?
no, no L.
It's okay.
Ethan.
They can tell me how they want
I'm
me to
on
pronounce
a
it.
little phone.
Okay. Organizational modeling, use case and scenarios, scope modeling, or user stories. He wants to use a technique that will help his stakeholders describe the goal they want to accomplish when using the solution.
Use case and scenarios, I think is the right answer.
Okay,
Yeah.
let's check the answer. Stakeholders do not write use cases. Well, that's crummy.
I did not think it was user stories because I thought user stories were about small little portions and what would happen during that little portion.
I
Well,
think
a
they
user
are, and
story,
they're. Oh,
You
go
do,
ahead.
in a user story, you do write the so that, which
Yep.
is why I want this requirement to take place. In a use case, you don't really write that other than you do write your goal, but it's different. So I can understand why they would say user story here.
Yeah, I think the key there that put me onto D was the idea that you're asking a stakeholder to describe a goal. And that's what a user story is, a very small piece of the process, right? It's in order to do
Right.
this, I need to do that. I need the system to do this.
And it's true, stakeholders don't write use cases. That's a term, a thing that we as business analysts would write. And typically, whenever you're working with people that are very, very technical, usually software development, they want things in use cases. Almost everyone else likes user stories. It's easier to understand.
I interpreted this question as Geeson is actually writing the use case that his customers would use, not the
I agree.
customers were writing it.
I agree. That was my thought too when I saw the answer. Okay, let me submit this exam, view the results. Guys, we have an increase, I think, of 12% over what we did last week. Look at us go. So us having the conversation helps us hear what other people are thinking. Y'all's reasoning of why something is right or why something is wrong is impeccable. And even whenever we make a mistake, we learn from our mistakes. So I appreciate the conversation. That is excellent. We have 10 minutes left in this meeting, which is unheard of. Usually we go up to the very end. Does anyone have any questions, or does anyone have any things that they need to ask about?
I have a question for one of the task, which is requirements architecture, and there's something called requirement viewpoints and views. Is there any simple way to understand, like, can someone give me an example of a requirement viewpoint or requirement views? Because I have not come across anything like that. So I'm having a hard time understanding that particular part.
Can you tell us where in the BABOK that is so that we can reference that section?
Sure, it's a 7.4.4 elements, and that is the first element for defined requirements architecture.
Okay, let's see. Here's my copy of my BABOK, and I will go to that section. You said 7.4.4?
7.4.4, yes.
Page
Okay.
149, yeah.
Okay, here's the elements. Requirements viewpoints frequently include standards and guidelines for the model types used for requirements, attributes that are included in the and consistently used in different models, model notations that are used, and analytical approaches used to identify and maintain relevant relationships among models. So if we're talking about the model notations, Bob, what's your favorite model notation?
I always do process diagrams almost exclusively, and I tend not to do formal things the way they're described in this book. There's no right or wrong way to do stuff. I have made many drawings according to industry standards. Whatever your organization wants and whatever communicates correctly and builds agreement and leads to correct outcomes is viable. That said, all these techniques are defined, and it never hurts to know them and know what the rules are, and you can use them as is, or if you know what the rules are, then you know when you break them, why you're doing it.
So it looks to me as though in reading this section above, well, not quite that far above. Requirement viewpoints, here's what they could include. And then it says basically exactly what Bob said. No one is more right than another. You do what you need. Then it talks about different techniques. So what do y'all think about techniques being viewpoints? And when we get into things like model notation, you can get into something as specific as UML or the other types of notation, but you have to do what you need for that project to communicate the information to your stakeholders and audience. Does that sound right for viewpoints?
So I just wanted to add on here. Yeah, so just to add on, like viewpoints, as mentioned here, these are examples of viewpoints, like business process models. They cater to a senior management more, understanding what the values are being brought in. Data models and information. So every viewpoint caters to a different set of stakeholders. Like if you look at these viewpoints, they all cater to different set of stakeholders. So for creating data models and informations, we have different guidelines and notations for business process model is different. So these are various different types of viewpoints. And when we feed in the actual information into it, then it becomes the view for the stakeholder.
I think you're exactly correct. The very last paragraph says the viewpoints tell business analysts what information they should provide for each stakeholder group to address their concerns. While views describe
That
the
was
requirements and designs
absolutely brilliant.
that
I
are
need to
produced.
make a note of that and write about that.
One of my challenges as a BA whenever I first started was to realize that not everyone needed all the information. In fact, sometimes giving somebody too much information was a detriment to everything. You have to give people the information that they need in the format that they understand it, in a way that it's acceptable to them. So you have your requirements, you have your information, and you have to package it in 6 different ways for 6 different user groups. So I think that's what we're talking about in viewpoints. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Yeah, you should generally address your audience. So developers need one thing, users need another, managers another.
Absolutely. That makes me much more comfortable with this concept, that I understand what a viewpoint is. Thank you for asking that question. Do we have another question? We have time for one more. Okay.
Well, actually, I can answer a question that was out there, but there's more meeting wise.
Good.
The meeting link we use in Zoom for this call is the same every week. So if you can't find an announcement and everything else, you can use the same link, the same Zoom link every week. We've kept it the same every week. So
yes,
good to know.
You know, if you make a little calendar notification on your own personal calendar, just make sure you got that link in there, and you won't ever have to search for it every week because we don't change it.
Right.
For that reason, makes life a lot easier for everybody.
Right.
Great.
Okay, one more reminder. There's going to be an event that's posted on our different sites of a activity coming up for the chapter. So if you're local to the Tampa area, consider participating. Even if you're halfway across the state, Bob very frequently will drive across the state to participate in these if he's available. And it's just nice to see people. Well, yeah, a little bit. It's nice to see people face to face, to get, the introduction, to create the relationship. It helps with the networking, and it's not a bad time to just get out and help clean up a park. Cliff has provided us sticks with pointy ends on them, and he makes us promise not to sword fight with them. But the rest of it, they're really good to pick up the trash. And we make the park better. And then sometimes we go to breakfast after and sit there and get to have some more time to talk. So
yeah, I was just going to say that because we try and go someplace afterwards if we can. We get an idea how many people show up, and maybe one person's job while we're cleaning up is to find a place that can take us all. And we can go to breakfast or lunch or something. Right. It was the way that I got introduction to everyone and decided, hey, I want to be a part of this. And it was a nice intro. Okay, guys, next week we're going to work on the next chapter. And I will encourage you to read ahead. I will encourage you also, every single time you see a technique, go ahead and go back to chapter 10 and read about that technique. You've seen in the questions that it refers to things very specific that you need to know out of chapter 10 for these techniques. The more you read now, the less confused you're going to get. It is our job to help you get set up to be able to pass this test, even if you do nothing more than improve your ability to be a business analyst in the real world. That's a bonus. So improvement, step forwards are step forwards. So let's just do it together. If anyone wants to reach out to me through LinkedIn. You've been given other addresses to be able to reach out to people. Bob has his website. You can reach out to him there.
I will see y'all next week. Same time, same channel. Have a great week.
All right.
Bye,
Thanks.
guys.
Talk to you guys
You
later.
too.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.